What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we have a really special ranking. Today I'm going to be ranking every single one of the Star Wars movies slash TV shows all together in one tier list. Now you may be thinking to yourself, wait, Net, you rank Star Wars movies almost every 2 weeks, right? But no, this is actually a special one because I'm not just ranking the movies, I'm not just ranking the TV show, I'm ranking everything together in one tier list. So that makes it different. Take that. But before we actually jump in, if you guys enjoy this video and you'd like to see more videos like this, please consider leaving me like a video suggestion. It can be a rank, it can be like a video you found you want to see me react to. You can like send me an article that you think is interesting you want to see me read. Just send me something because I'm looking for content to do every single day for the rest of the year. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. You know, just take like 1 minute out of your day just to do something like that, and I'd appreciate it. And as always, if you enjoy this video and you'd like to see more, please consider liking, subscribing, and turn notifications. Now with that said, guys, let's go over our categories here. So today we have amazing, we have good, we have okay, we have bad, we have booty, and then we have haven't seen. So there is like 1 or 2 things on here I actually haven't seen, so we'll get to that when we get to them. But as you can see from the list below, I'm going to be going from the TV shows into like the spin-off movies and then into the actual Skywalker saga. So without further ado, let's begin. So today we're starting off with the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the original Clone Wars back when I was a kid. This came out like in 2004. I want to say right before Revenge of the Sith came out, and there was actually 2 seasons. There was season 1, which is like 15 episodes, and then there was season 2, which I think was 10 episodes. But the first 15 took place in the beginning of the Clone Wars, and the last 10, I think it was 10, it might have been less than that. Whatever the case, the last 8 or 10, whatever it was, take place right before the end of Revenge of the Sith. Now, of course, this Clone Wars is not canon anymore, but I will say for what it was at the time, I actually think it was okay. I remember thinking like overall the coolest thing about this show was General Grievous. And if you saw this show, you saw the Grievous scenes, you'll know why. Like he was the craziest looking thing because this was before Revenge of the Sith even came out. So we knew nothing about Grievous. And here's this big guy who comes in, takes on 5 Master Jedi, and nearly kills all of them. It was something like spectacular, something we've never seen before in any of the Star Wars, like any Star Wars villains ever do. So that was super big. Overall, I think that the art was fine. Back then, I remember thinking the art was weird, but I've come around to it as time has gone on. And I still think it's a very solid show. I'd understand if you put it in good. I understand if you put it in bad too. You know what I mean? Because like I said, the animation wasn't always the best. But for what it is, I think it's definitely an okay. So it's going to go in the okay category. All right, next one. This is the Clone Wars movie. And guys, I'll probably get some flack, but honestly, the Clone Wars movie is a bad movie. Now, with that said, if it was just its own TV show arc, it actually probably would be in like the okay or good category. But for me, I rewatched this one like 2 weeks ago. It's a bad movie because you can tell it was meant to be TV show. You know, like you could tell it was meant to be an arc of a TV show that they took and they made it into a movie just to kind of get more hype for the actual show coming out. Was it a smart plan? Yes. Was it the best arc to pick? Probably not. It was cool to see Ahsoka come in. That was a very, you know, they had to do that obviously, but there were some really cool arcs in the Clone Wars that they probably could have tackled. But I get it. They were trying to do an introduction and getting all the fans on board and stuff like that. I didn't see this one in theaters, and I think this came out around the same time I was going into high school, so I didn't really care about Star Wars much at that time. At that point in time, I think it was like 2008 this came out, so by that point I was after girls more than Star Wars. So you know, eventually when I got my girlfriend, who's now my wife, I came back to Star Wars later. But yeah, this was not on my radar at the time. And then I think I remember watching it in like 2010 and just thinking it was really bad. And then I rewatched it again, you know, throughout the years. And then, like I said, just 2 weeks ago, and it's just bad. There are redeemable qualities in it, obviously. Ahsoka being one of them. I mean, yeah, she's a little weird to get used to, but by the end of the movie, you like her. Cool to see Anakin and Obi-Wan having more banter, being more of the friendly type, because by this point, we didn't see the rest of the Clone Wars series. So besides just some little banter they had in episode 3 and episode 2, we didn't really get to see them be friends. So it was cool to kind of be able to see that with this movie. So there is some actual positives with this movie. So I can't put it in the booty category. However, if someone were to put it in booty, I guess I'd understand the argument. So with that said, let us jump into the next one. All right, next one is the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show. And here's the thing. If we were just comparing the TV shows themselves, I would put the Clone Wars TV show in amazing. However, because we do have the movies in here too, that kind of elevates the overall ranking altogether. So I'm going to put the Clone Wars TV show as a whole in good. Because here's the thing. Overall, I would say the Clone Wars TV show is amazing. The different arcs, the different storylines we're following, the different characters we see, this massive war that's going on that we only ever saw like talked about or just even hinted at. You know, when I was a kid before the Clone Wars TV show, you had to really do a lot of well, you had to either read the comics or you read the books, or you had to use your own imagination to kind of put pieces together. So I think the Clone Wars did a good job serving what it was supposed to do. Now, with that said, as a whole, while it would be amazing, you know, you still have your like R2-D2 and his squad episodes. You know what I mean? Where like they just go around doing stuff. You have the Jar Jar episodes. You have episodes where there's like really nothing going on. They're just like filler episodes just to add more episodes to seasons. I'm not a massive fan of that. And I don't think it's necessarily a massive, you know, pullback on the overall ranking. But like, you know, when you compare it to some of the movies I'll talk about later, I do think that the Clone Wars TV show is good. I don't think you can put it in bad. I would understand an argument for okay and amazing, but you cannot put the Clone Wars TV show in bad. So with that said, let's go to Star Wars Rebels. Now here's the thing. When Star Wars Rebels first came out, it was before I actually fully watched all of the Clone Wars. And I actually thought it was better. And the reason why I thought it was better wasn't because it was more kiddish, which, you know, that was kind of one of those detractors from it. But the show was overall more solid to me because it followed one core group of people. So we're constantly sticking with these rebels through the entire show. We're seeing them grow. You know, we're not jumping from this master to these clones, to Jar Jar, to R2-D2 and his squad, to back to Anakin, then to, you know, Maul and Savage. You know what I mean? Like, you're just getting like one solid story from the squad. So I do appreciate that more. Narratively speaking, Rebels is the better TV show from that standpoint. But after rewatching the Clone Wars over the years, I do think that Clone Wars is the better show. But I would still put Rebels in good. However, I would understand an argument for people who don't like Rebels. You know, I understand if you want to put it in bad. Mainly because, like I said, it is a watered down Clone Wars. You're seeing stuff happen that you would have seen in Clone Wars. You would have saw someone get like shot and there would be like a wound on them. Or you saw them get sliced. You would see the lightsaber slice. In Rebels, they pulled that back. So even like one of the biggest fights in Rebels is Maul versus Kenobi. When Kenobi slashes Maul, he doesn't even have like a lightsaber strike on his chest. Like, it doesn't even show up. And it's just like, come on. You know, I know you were trying to appeal to like more of the kids side with Rebels. And that was one of the best things about the Clone Wars TV show, is that the Clone Wars aged with its fans. You know, it's like the first like few seasons of Clone Wars, a little more kiddish, a little more like, you know, cartoony, like jokey and stuff like that. But as you go on and get further and further down, especially when you get to like, you know, the most recent season they released, you really see just how much more serious and how much more adult the cartoon got. So it's pretty cool that they can do that. I do think that maybe Rebels missed the mark by doing that, but overall I do appreciate Rebels for what it is now. Like I said, I'd understand the argument for bad, but I cannot say it's booty. I could understand okay, and I could maybe even understand amazing for a Rebels, but for right now, I think just a medium to low good is good for that, especially when you're comparing all the other you know, films and TV shows. That's a good spot. So next one, Forces of Destiny. So here's the thing about Forces of Destiny. I did try to watch them, and the only ones I watched were the ones that Anakin were in. So I really haven't actually seen all of them in total, so I can't really put them in any category besides haven't seen. However, from what I saw, I'd put it in booty, honestly, but like I said, haven't seen the whole thing, so I would put it in haven't seen. Next one, Star Wars Resistance. This was kind of sold as if it was going to be the Rebels sequel. And so for those of you who didn't know, at the time, there was Clone Wars, and then Rebels was kind of sold as if it was the sequel to Clone Wars, and then Resistance, when that was first announced, was kind of sold as the sequel to Rebels. But for me, looking at the animation and stuff, I just wasn't a fan of it, and honestly, I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to watch this one, so I haven't seen this one. And now this one is Star Wars, is it called Star Wars Legends? Is this the anime one? This is the one I haven't seen, but I actually do want to watch this. So I'm going to put this at the highest point of haven't seen, because I just haven't seen it just because I haven't taken the time to actually watch it yet. But it looks pretty dope, so I just haven't seen it. But I'm going to put it high. High haven't seen. So there you go. And for the rest of these I have seen, so I can just go off of that. So the Bad Batch. I think the Bad Batch is like a high okay. I'd actually put a little bit behind Rebels just because I think that the Bad Batch needs more time to kind of explore their characters, and there's a lot of elements that we see from the Bad Batch that was really cool to tackle, And then you had like the traditional Clone Wars events where like here's like a filler thing that kind of messes up the story. It's like, get that out of here. You know what I mean? So I hope like if Bad Batch does continue in the future, if they do like a season 2 or whatever, I hope there's just a little more exploration going on with their characters, especially with the main character Hunter, you know, the leader of them. So this could just be my personal opinion, but the character of Hunter seems like a force sensitive clone, and he has things that he does where it almost seems like he has the force. Not necessarily the full-on force like a Jedi, but something along the ways of like Chirrut Îmwe from Rogue One, like that. Like he can use the force, kinda. You know what I mean? Like he can't exactly control it, but he can kind of use it. So I think that's kind of interesting to tackle that. I like to see that kind of further explained, especially like, you know, maybe he does eventually gain the abilities and learn to fight like a Jedi. So that'd be pretty cool to see that explored. I don't know if they will go that way, but that'd be dope. I think that'd be cool. Next one, The Mandalorian. Guys, The Mandalorian is, oh, man. I don't know. I want to put it a high okay. It's almost amazing. There are elements of The Mandalorian that are kind of held back. I do think maybe with season 3, The Mandalorian might go up to amazing. It's just like I said, if we were just going off of the TV shows, The Mandalorian would probably be the highest. You know, that would be the high amazing. But because we have the movies in this, I do think that The Mandalorian doesn't exactly surpass some of the movies, but it does get relatively close. So I would understand an argument for amazing. I'd maybe even understand an argument for okay. But for me, I'm going to put it at a high good. I think that's good for me. Next one, Book of Boba Fett. This one's okay. This one's like a mid okay. I think it's okay. I wasn't super excited about it. The only time I really got excited was when Mando 2.5 started. Like Mando season 2.5, which was like half of Boba Fett's season. I kind of feel like, you know, the Boba Fett part is a little lacking. Like they shouldn't have made this show. Maybe just kept Boba as a mentor. Maybe if they do a season 2, they can kind of explore more about Boba. But for right now, I think Boba works better as kind of like a, I wouldn't really say mentor, but he sort of is a mentor to the Mando. So I'm gonna put it in the middle okay. I'd understand the argument for bad, but I'd also understand the argument for good. But for right now, I think like a middle okay is good for me. Okay, now with that said, let us get into the movies. So, starting with the first spin-off, Rogue One. I think Rogue One, as time has gone on, when I first saw it, I thought it was actually pretty bad. And the reason was because it didn't feel like Star Wars to me initially. But after time has gone on and I've rewatched it several times, I've really come around to it. The first time I watched it, I actually did not like it. And every time I watched it, I liked it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little more. And now I actually do like it. I think it's good. I might put it behind Clone Wars. It's good, but it's not as good as Clone Wars, not as good as Mando, in my opinion. I mean, overall, the story's solid. I think Jin is a good character. Cassian's fine. And then, like, that's like, and then Chirrut's cool too. And then there's like no other characters that are like that compelling in that movie. So if I was going to complain about anything about this movie, it's not the story. You know what I mean? It's the actual characters. It's the fact that there's only 3 characters we really even know. I actually don't even remember the other characters' names. Is it Baze? It's Baze, right? There's Baze, K2S. Oh, K2SO is pretty dope. I like him. And then the pilot guy, Bodhi. Whatever the case, the Rogue One story is interesting for sure, but the characters themselves, they're forgettable. So that's one of the things that kind of keep it from getting higher for me. But overall, I'd say it's good. You know, as far as the main character goes, we like her. You know, Jin's cool. I like her. And yeah, so with that said, let's move on to the next one. Solo movie. So when I first saw Solo, I actually had Solo above Rogue One. After coming back to it again, I think it's okay. I'd probably put it like at a high okay. It's not bad. I think it's interesting. I think the main actor who plays a young Han Solo does a relatively good job at it. I also think the young actor who plays Lando, he does a good job at it too. So for what they are trying to do with this movie, I think it's relatively solid, you know, but it's not like perfect. I think the biggest problem with this movie is that it wasn't meant to be made. If you know what I mean. Like Han Solo is a good character, but he's not meant to be our main guy. You know, he's supposed to be the dashing hero. So in a lot of narratives, you have your reluctant hero, who is usually your main character. Then you have your dashing hero, who's usually like the second in command to the main character, or, you know, somewhat of a older brother type figure, best friend type character. Then you have like your princess, your leading girl, who kind of would have a dynamic with those two. You know what I mean? That's kind of what you usually do from a narrative standpoint. And Han works really good as that big brother character, but he's not really meant to be the main character, in my opinion. So I think that ultimately holds him back. But I would say that this movie is still fun. Like, I would still watch this if I'm going to do like an entire Star Wars movie binge. I'd still watch it. I'd add it to my watch list, but I would also understand if other people wouldn't. So I think a high okay is good for it. I would understand good, and I'd understand bad if you wanted to put bad too. But for me, I think a high okay is good. Okay, let us get to the big 9. Here we go. We're going to start with Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. And yes, I did say A New Hope. Take that, you original trilogy supremacists. Okay, so right off the bat, guys, this one's booty. This is just a terrible movie. I got you. Yeah, you're mad. Yo, you're so mad. Why are you so mad? Okay, guys, A New Hope is like high good. I actually put it in front of Mandalorian. This movie hits, guys. It still hits ever since it was released. This thing still smacks. You really can't hate this movie. I mean, sure, you can attack like maybe the special effects didn't exactly age well, and maybe some of the different elements with the different characters aren't completely fleshed out, but I think for what this movie is, what it stands for, it has to be at least okay on everyone's list. I don't think you can put this one in bad. You just can't put this movie in bad. I'd understand an okay. I would obviously understand a good, and I'd also understand an amazing. So but you can't put that movie in bad. All right, next one, Empire Strikes Back. So I'm gonna move this one to the very end because I want to talk about that more. So stay tuned for that. Return of the Jedi. I think Return of the Jedi is good. Compared to a lot of the other stuff here, I'd actually maybe put it a little bit in front of Rogue One. I still think Clone Wars overall is a more solid story, obviously because of all the extra hours it has on top of it. But for Return of the Jedi being the original finale to this entire saga, it's solid, and that's the way it is. Next one, The Phantom Menace. I think The Phantom Menace, I might put it a little bit in front of Solo. I think it's a solid, like, high okay. But with that said, I do understand the argument for people who want to say it's bad. But I also understand if you'd put it in good. Just for me, though, I think it's a high okay. So I'll put it there. Next one, Star Wars Attack of the Clones. So here's the thing. My personal preference of which two of these I like more changes all the time. But off the top of my head right now, I'm probably going to put The Phantom Menace a little bit in front of Attack of the Clones. But I mean, I could rewatch these again like tomorrow, and that could change. But for right now, I think it's still a high okay. I understand if you put it in bad, but for me, high okay it is. Next one, Revenge of the Sith. I'm also going to save to the very end. We're going to get to that one. All right, now we have Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And I think for what this movie is, I think it is okay. I'll put a little bit in front of Solo. It has a lot of elements that are really cool. And I'm not going to go ahead and just start hating on the sequels in this video, because there's plenty of videos that we can do that stuff about. But I will say that I do think it was a little too safe. And that ultimately holds it back from being a good movie. I guess I'd understand if someone wanted to put The Force Awakens at a high okay, especially considering it's probably the best of the sequel trilogy. You know what I mean? Like that makes sense why you'd put it higher than the others. But I think on this power scale of greatness, right between Attack of the Clones and Solo is probably where The Force Awakens belongs. So we're going to put it there. Next one, Last Jedi. I'm also going to say to the very end, we'll talk about that one. And then we have Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. The problem with The Rise of Skywalker, it's not as bad as the Clone Wars movie. I'll put it here. I think it's a low okay. I'd understand if you hated this movie. I understand you think it's booty, but the problem with The Rise of Skywalker isn't the movie itself. It's the people who were behind the movies, the whole sequel trilogy in general. I don't blame the sequel trilogy for what happened. I blame the people who were in charge of the sequel trilogy for what happened, if you know what I mean. Episode 9 was just a victim of The Last Jedi. You know what I mean? Even The Force Awakens, I guess you could say. But the things they set up in The Force Awakens was going one way, and then Last Jedi was like, no, we're going this way. And then Rise of Skywalker had to go this way again, you know what I mean, to try to catch back up to where it was going to Force Awakens. So I don't blame The Rise of Skywalker for it, but that doesn't mean that it's still like a good movie. I'd understand if you put it in bad. I maybe understand if you wanted to put this in booty because it was supposed to be the final episode in the entire saga, right? I would say, you can complain about Return of the Jedi all you want, but that was a relatively solid finale to the 6-film saga. So The Rise of Skywalker really just dropped the ball for me, personally. And because of that, I'm going to put it in okay. But like I said, there's a lot of other elements that could maybe bring it down to bad. But there are some positives here and there in that movie that kind of keep it from going into bad for me. So it's going to be in low okay. All right, now it's our big three. We have Empire Strikes Back. Guys, this one's amazing. We already know that. Not much I have to say. Solid story. I would say that the B plot gets a little rough. People don't like to point that out, but the B plot in this story is a little rough when it comes to Han and Leia and what they're doing in the movie. But their plot eventually comes full circle, and then it gets tied back into the regular story. So it works out in the end. But there is a little bit in the middle of that movie that people don't like to talk about. So I point that out. However, still an amazing movie, masterclass when it comes to Star Wars quality film. So yeah, it's gonna go there. Now, Revenge of the Sith. If you watched me for years, you already know where this one's going. This is the best. If we're talking about what is the best Star Wars movie / TV show / adaptation we have seen out of all time so far, it is Revenge of the Sith. That is the best Star Wars movie. If we're talking about which one is the most high quality production, you can maybe argue that either that's Mandalorian or Empire Strikes Back or even A New Hope. You could argue that those three are, the better quality films / TV shows. If we're talking about what is the best Star Wars adaptation / movie we've gotten so far, it's Revenge of the Sith. And I don't really think anything has ever even come close to it. And maybe that's another thing for me, is Revenge of the Sith was like the last film of the 6-film saga, right? And that set a bar. And then episode 7 didn't quite meet it, but it left this idea that it might. And then we got episode 8 and 9. You know what I mean? And it just never met that bar again. So I hope that maybe one day we can get a Star Wars movie that can meet Revenge of the Sith on the level of Star Wars awesomeness. So I guess we'll wait and see. And of course, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And guys, this one is the very best. So thank you guys for watching. Please consider liking. Okay, guys, so obviously I'm joking. All right, now here's the thing about this movie, okay? If we're talking visually speaking, it is probably the best looking movie / TV show / any type of thing we've seen so far as, Star Wars goes. It is the best looking. From the Snoke scenes to the shots of Act 2, you cannot complain about those scenes because it is super good looking. But everything else is just such a mess when it comes to this movie. So because of that, I'm probably going to have to put it in bad. It's just a bad Star Wars movie. And that's what this is. This is a Star Wars adaptation movie, TV show comparison. It is a bad Star Wars movie. I would understand that you made an argument for booty, but I do think there are some redeeming qualities to this movie. And mostly, if not pretty much like 95% of it, happens to be, it's just a very good looking movie. So I can't put it in booty, but I understand if you were to. So, yeah. There you go, guys. That is my ranking for all of the Star Wars movies and TV shows. How would you guys rank these? Let me know in the comments below. Or at least tell me your top 5 and your least top 5 or whatever. And like I said in the beginning of this video, if you guys have any cool ideas for future tier lists I can do, or you want to see me react to a video, or you want to see me talk about my opinion on something you want to hear, let me know in the comments below, because if I use your suggestion, I will give you a shout out in that video. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and turn on notifications, because I'd like to continue making a video every single day for the rest of the year, and I would love to have you on that journey with me. So please consider doing that if you could. But thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.